Hey there, folks. It is I, Sam Whitfield, for the Thursday edition of the Whitfield Report. Um, how are you guys? I hope you're doing well, considering all of the weird shit that is going on in the world in 2020. This is going to be a pre-recorded Thursday show today, and I think it'll become pretty apparent why in just a few minutes. But, let's run through the usual contact info. As always, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @SomDeeper_NDC. Follow the Whitfield Report on Twitter at Whitfield Report. You can follow me on Gab and Parler at Sam Whitfield. Facebook.com/Whitfield Report. TheSamWhitfield.com. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever. And to those of you listening over there, thank you very much. And, even though this is a pre-recorded show, streamlabs.com/Whitfield Report if you'd like to contribute. And by the way, someone actually sent me a donation, I think via PayPal, last week when I was on with Versa Media. I don't know their name, and I mean I do, but they didn't leave a message, so I don't want to name that person on the show. But to whoever who donated $10 to the show last weekend, thank you very much. That was very generous, and I appreciate it. All right, folks. So I don't know how to start this show, to be honest. I don't. There's a lot of this whole year, 2020, has been more or less a clusterfuck, it seems. Or at least since March, when COVID hit, and it's just been, a big steaming pile of, crap endlessly. And the year hasn't been easy, and I've tried my best, to cover the news and, to cover as best as I can. I've ranted, and I've raved. I've tried to be optimistic a bit when I can. In fact, that's one thing I want to really talk to you guys about today/tonight, whenever you're watching and or listening to this. But, in light of the whole shooting with Atlanta, and now, all these cops, not showing up for work, and, all these, riots escalating, and just everything, I just, to be honest, for today, I don't have the bandwidth to do it. To cover the news and to cover current events. And I just don't have the bandwidth. I'm burnt out. And on top of that, I love live streaming. I love chatting with you folks. But it does take some attention for me to, manage the live stream and make sure that the signal is, going good, and, chatting with you guys, that I can deal with. But as you know, YouTube has been having issues with keeping streams, held prisoner for, sometimes a day and a half or more. It's gotten ridiculous. I've ranted about it a bit. I know Semper Reloaded has as well on his Twitter and his channel. So, you know, just the news and the technical stuff, I don't want to have to deal with that today. So that's why today's show is pre-recorded. And yeah, I hope you find today's show helpful somewhat. I don't know how this is going to go, other than I've just got to speak from the heart to you guys. And one thing I want to talk to you guys about specifically is staying optimistic during these tough times. You know, I often say that, you know, although times might be tough right now, we have to stay optimistic. And, you know, I'm not pointing out anyone specifically, but I've gotten a lot of feedback, you know, from people, and I'll have comments, well, you know, saying, how can you be optimistic at a time like this? The whole entire world is going to shit. You know, I've gotten other comments from people, you know, asking me like, you know, boy, Sam, I don't know how you know, do the show. It must be overwhelming, you know, trying to keep up with the news and all that stuff. And as you guys have seen, the news has gotten to me a bit over the past couple weeks, which is another reason I want to take some time to talk with you guys about this topic tonight. Long story short, I do believe that optimism is important, and that being optimistic and being hopeful is important in these times, especially right now. However, it is not easy, and you know, but I have to believe that things are going to you know, turn out for the better, and that we will eventually prevail, and that freedom and liberty, as cliched as it may sound, will you know, will prevail, despite the fact that there are, you know, parties within this country, you know, trying to actively destroy that, and there are, you know, there's so much division politically on both sides of the aisle, somewhat. But you know, I guess you know, one thing that people have asked me is, well, Sam, you know, you keep saying to be optimistic and that you think things will get better, but how do you know? You know, what proof do you have? And you know, I don't have any tangible proof. I can't point to a date this year when things are going to go back to normal. I can't tell you that, you know, Trump is going to swoop in and save everything, or, you know, anything like that. I can't tell you who's going to right the ship. And I don't think it's going to be any, you know, one of us. I think it's going to be a group effort. I think it bodes well to be optimistic during these tough times, because let me tell you, it's very easy to become, I guess the term is blackpilled, or you know, like downtrodden and depressed about, you know, oh, the world's going to shit, you know, America's done, America's lost, you know, to despair and wallow and, you know, tell my audience that, you know, things are going to crap and that, like, America's over. That would be, believe it or not, that would be, you know, the easy thing to do, I think. And, you know, you look at the news and you look at what's going on, and that's, you know, awfully tempting sometimes. But I think the reason why I'm optimistic is because, partially because of my life and having to overcome a lot with my, you know, disability. I've had to push myself, you know, in multiple areas. of my life, as I've shared a bit on my show. And, you know, part of that is, despite it not being easy, sometimes I've had to be optimistic. And that doesn't always mean that, things are la-di-da. I think people these days tend to think that optimism means that you have your head in the clouds about reality, and that's not the case at all. I think, the power of optimism and the power of thinking is, thinking positive, despite things going to crap. And I'm not Mike Cernovich, and I'm not one of those, motivational, positive thinking or, guerrilla mindset people. I'm not going to sell you a book on how to think positive or, anything like that. But I do think it's, important to have that mindset to at least, try and think positive, and more than that, even just to try to be good to, one another. One of the things I think we're really lacking right now is, the minority of, there is a very vocal minority of people who are writing right now, Antifa and some of the more radical, leftists and Black Lives Matter, who, are really just destroying property and saying that America sucks, that America is inherently racist, and that, we need reparations, or, stuff like that. The mob is coming for everyone, and, that's not the case. On the flip side, we have some members of the, alt-right, the far fringe right, who are, blaming stuff on, race wars and, the JQ and all that stuff. And, I don't think either extreme is, good in regards to, the whole thing with Black Lives Matter and whatnot. As I've said before, yes, Black lives do matter. All lives matter. That shouldn't be a controversial thing to say. Yes, we have had problems in this country with, race, and things are not perfect in this country. And, I think we've made tremendous progress, considering where we were 150 years ago. And I don't think things are perfect. I think things, need to continue to improve. But the way some people are going about it, wanting to get rid of cops completely, blaming systemic racism and, inherent white supremacy on everything. Those are very radical, terms, and I don't think they don't solve anything. They just make things worse. I thought MLK said, judge one by the content of their character, not the content of their skin. And, I'm sure people are going to get mad at me for quoting that now, because even that's controversial, but I don't care. In regards to the, the VR and the race and IQ people, I mean, that stuff is completely idiotic, and, you people know that, deep down, you guys are just trying to be edgelords, a lot of you. You guys know who, some of the people I'm talking about, and it's just, hatred on both sides is just, going to continue to, further divide the country, and that's not gonna fly in my book. I think the vast majority of Americans recognize that yes, we do have problems in America, but things can be fixed. And I think the most important thing we can do is to actually have a dialogue with each other about these problems instead of, screaming about them. And I know I get rambunctious about politics and whatnot too. I get that everyone's passionate, but I mean, everyone is, either racist or a bigot or, something these days, and you can blame the environment on Trump. You can only blame the environment on Trump so much. I think. Sorry about that. I think you can only blame the environment on Trump so much. But I think the media, the mainstream media, is largely to blame. I think they inflame, things in regards to, focusing on, cop on black crime, which again, I know that's an unpopular opinion, but I think it does happen a lot. The media tends to focus on that in order to spark controversy. The mainstream media does. Alternative media doesn't always do a good job of, bringing people together either. There are lots of, people who like to drum up, fear and whatnot. I'm all for a good conspiracy theory myself, but, I think sometimes these channels, and they have every right to do so, so I'm not, saying, ban them. I think sometimes, people just like to, gin up fear just because it's what they know. And, if that's your prerogative, so be it. It's your channel. I'm for free speech and, whatnot. But I'm just saying I don't think it's that healthy. I'm not, like I'm saying, I'm not perfect, either myself. I'm not saying that I'm a great uniter. I've certainly tried to be more, open-minded and whatnot about hearing other people's opinions. But here's the other thing, too. I largely consider myself a conservative, libertarian, a conservatarian, by and large. And, I've pretty much always been that way. As far as things like, gay marriage and whatnot, I really don't care, who, you marry as far as the government is concerned. And, when it comes, I'm not, a big, morality, preacher, at least not on the show. It's not my job here, to preach morality, to you guys in terms of, your personal relationships. Obviously, don't hurt, kids, don't rape, common stuff like that. But, I'm pretty pro Second Amendment. I know that's a radical idea now, too, somewhat. But, on the flip side, I'm also, I'm not necessarily for the legalization of all drugs, but I am starting to think more and more as the years go by that decriminalizing drugs to a certain extent is a good idea. I think that the drug war, or at least the way we've been fighting it, is largely ineffective and, whatnot. And, there are probably lots of things that, I could go into a whole litany on topic by topic, but my point being is I think I'm a pretty rational guy, and I like I said, I'm a conservatarian. I'm not like a radical, like right wing nut job Nazi, which some have accused me of, on the left. Some people have accused me of being like a soft, liberal namby pamby, or something like that. I've gotten that too. That uh, I'm not like far right wing enough, or whatever. And I am who I am. Um, I think the whole left right paradigm is it does get tiresome after a while, folks, and I know this may sound cliche, but we all are human at the end of the day. We all make mistakes, and none of us are perfect, but I think we all make the effort to be better to each other. Um, that would be a lot better. Now, one thing that isn't up for debate in my, mind is, and this, goes back more and more to the rioters and the people, seeking to, defund the police and completely, collapse America because America is a racist place. Listen, as I said before, America is not a perfect place. Right? We've made our fair share of mistakes. I get it. Everyone gets it. But to tear the whole thing down is a travesty. And it is quite honestly angering that people are trying to do this. As I've said before, yeah, America is not perfect. We get that. But America, in my mind, and in the minds of millions of other people, is a place where, the best of humanity can succeed. You can come from any walk of life here, pretty much, and with enough hard work, grit, and determination, you can achieve the American dream. You can improve yourself. You can better yourself. You can go from rags to riches, or riches to rags. Sometimes you can do both and make like the ultimate comeback story. It has happened. I believe in the power of humanity. I believe in optimism. I believe that, yes, there are bad people in the world. But I also believe equally in the power of, good people. People who want to see humanity, thrive and, prosper. And, to see the individual succeed and to see their fellow man succeed and to be more free and to be more independent. That's something I've always, believed in. I think humanity is awesome, and I think we are a powerful force, and I think, the biggest thing we can do to, push back against this stuff is, as I said, be supportive of each other. Like I said, I think it's way too easy to swallow, a black pill, so to speak, and say, oh, the country is doomed. The country is falling apart. Listen, I get that. And I know that this whole entire episode, I've been a bit rambly and whatnot, but I am literally just, dumping what's been on my, mind, and more importantly on my heart and soul for the last few weeks, to be honest. I've met so many incredible people in my real life. I've made unbelievably close friends who I've met, growing up in school, or that I've met, in my travels, or in Boy Scouts, or, through family and college, just all sorts of amazing people. And I've met equally amazing people through the show. And that's another thing. Yes, the show is hard to do sometimes, to cover the, news and whatnot. It gets hard to cover this stuff. But I also love this show. This show really honestly brings me to a certain extent joy to be able to make these for you, and to be able to interact with you guys in the chat and receive audience feedback live, or to read your comments, to get your emails, to get your tweets, to get your feedback. And some of it might not always be positive feedback, some of it is negative, but regardless, I really do deeply appreciate each and every one of you that participates in this show, and who has been on this crazy journey with me, whether you've been with me since my very first podcast back when I was 14 in 2008, or if you're a brand new subscriber to the channel. I really appreciate each and every one of you who has come on board. You are all extremely awesome, and I just want to thank you all so very much for coming on the journey. And I said today that like some of my biggest influences are Tucker Carlson, Rush Limbaugh. I think I said Bill Burr, Joe Rogan, and I also said that I'm Charles Krauthammer. I'm rolled into one, and then of course I omitted of course the great Dennis Miller and his sidekick Christian Blatt. Dennis, the more and more I get older, he is I've probably, they say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. I wouldn't say that I directly imitate him, but in terms of broadcasting, I'm not sure about my stand-up chops yet, but as far as my interviewing style goes, and as far as just my conversational tone of broadcasting, he has definitely influenced me tremendously. I guess the only reason why I omitted him by accident this morning when I tweeted that out was because Dennis is someone who makes me laugh uproariously. Not everyone gets his humor. I get that. I'm kind of an odd duck, especially for my age in that sense. That I like his esoteric humor, but I like lots of esoteric things. And Dennis makes me laugh. That's he does. Lately, I'm out of a lot to laugh at, so it kind of feels like his influence hasn't been with me there a lot lately as much. Certainly, I guess the ranting part of what he's famous for has been, but at any rate, I am definitely going to have to listen to the White album, or the Off-White album, his first comedy album, because it's been about 2.5 years since I've listened to that. And of course also the legendary Andrew Breitbart was a huge influence to me, and boy oh boy, I'd like to try and say that I can imagine what he might think of all this, but the truth is, I can't. But I would like to think that Breitbart would continue to be the happy warrior that he always was. When I interviewed Ben Shapiro back in 2012, I interviewed Ben specifically about, Andrew, and Ben told me, and Christian Blatt has told me the same thing, that Andrew had two modes. One was extreme jocularity and, goofing off and having a good time and making people laugh. And the other is, righteous indignation, where he would, passionately fight for the, his country and stand for what he believes in. And, I guess that's kind of why Breitbart, the older I get, the more and more I feel he and I, I'm closest to him in that sense. I'm a guy who, like, honestly, politics really is downstream from culture. He was definitely right about that. And the way I always like to say things is, like, I'm a pop culture guy. Like, from a very early age, I was, into movies and comic books and whatnot. Like, politics and history were my, favorite, subjects in school. But other than that, I was a pop culture guy. And then, 2008 rolled around, and you started to see Obama, and, the far left's kind of, merged the two more and more together, it seemed like, or at least in my eyes. And I felt like I had to do something. So, I've shared that story. Long story short, this show is kind of born, and it's evolved and molded, and it's changing the more and more I grow and mature and get older. And I think you go back to some of my early episodes, and some of them are really, really, really cringe to listen to, because I was, teenage back then. But I think now that I'm older, I've certainly refined myself a lot more, and I am constantly refining myself more. I am constantly trying to improve this show as best I can, while still being genuine. I will put on a persona somewhat, like, but I won't ever change characters. I won't become someone else. I definitely do have, like, an on-air personality, but I would like to believe that the on-air personality is just an extension of myself, and that you guys really are getting the real, genuine me, especially right now, as I'm just talking directly to you guys and just kind of rambling. I really, truly do love this show. And yeah, I have taken breaks before. Yes, I have been tempted to quit, and yes, I have quit. And today I actually considered, maybe it's time for me to hang up the mic, because the country is falling apart. Maybe I'm not doing, good enough. I've only got I've only got 682 subscribers on YouTube. My podcast, it, has a couple thousand listeners, but that's not good enough. Like, I've had my moments of doubt too, folks. Believe me. I think everyone experiences those moments of doubt. But one of the reasons why I'm doing this show for you today is just to be open and honest with you. I know people are struggling right now. I know people are, having doubts. We all are. But I'm telling you, folks, please hang in there. Please stay the course. Things are getting really weird right now. I know they are, and I feel that. It's been scary and heartbreaking for me to watch, so much turmoil and so much chaos. First with COVID, and with these riots and everything else, it really does, you know, it really can be despairing sometimes. But then, you know, when I read comments, you know, from people saying that they enjoy my streams, whether it be my, you know, whether it be my political streams, whether it be my, you know, conversational streams, my interview streams, just my casual chat streams with people, whether it be me just poking fun at, you know, Owen Benjamin's nonsensical antics, you know, it really does mean a lot to me, you know, when you guys enjoy the show and participate and joke around with me, you know, agree or disagree with me, you know, start a discussion. I enjoy all of it pretty much. And, you know, I am here for you guys, and I really appreciate those of you who have been here for me and who have, you know, checked up on me and, you know, communicated with me. I really do appreciate it. So, you know, as long as I am able to produce this show, I'm not going anywhere, folks. And, you know, if you guys continue to stick around with me, I'll continue to stick around with you. I do have one, you know, thing I would request of my fellow, you know, content creators, fellow podcasters, and, you know, YouTube streamers. You know, from one host to another. I realize that, you know, some of you are disenfranchised. I realize that some of you, you know, are really feeling down about, you know, the current situation and that nothing good is going to come out of this. I get it. But I would encourage all of you, and I would ask each and every, you know, podcaster I know, you know, personally to, you know, please, you know, even if you don't have faith in Trump, even if you don't have, you know, faith in the politicians, you know, even if you don't have faith in authority, have faith in your audiences, you know, be a voice for positivity, you know, inspire your audience, talk to them. I'm amazed at how even a smaller, you know, channel like mine can really help, you know, people. I've been amazed that some people have told me that, you know, my streams help them through the day or something. Like, that just blows my mind. And that's the reason why, you know, one of the reasons why, on top of me just loving this podcasting so much, the fact that you guys appreciate me is what helps me, you know, to keep making these. And I really genuinely do appreciate it. So, folks, you know, have just, you know, have faith, you know, in God. I don't like to get, you know, too religious on this show, but, you know, my faith has certainly helped me through these, you know, tough times. And, you know, for those of you who have faith, you know, I would encourage you to exercise that and find solace in that. You know, for those of you that don't, you know, find faith in whatever higher power does it for you, you know, that's positive. You know, and like I said, I just think we're going to, you know, it's going to be tough, it's going to be ugly, but if we persevere, I think we are going to come out on the other end relatively okay. You know, so this was kind of my, you know, rant slash, you know, motivational speech, I guess, as it were. So, you know, anyway, folks, I want to thank you all for tuning into the Whitfield Report, wherever you are in the past, present, future hour. Have a good evening or good day. God bless you, and God, freedom, legacy, and order, and God save this great nation. And I will see you for sure on Saturday night's live edition of the Whitfield Report. Although I might have another podcast for you guys tomorrow. I don't know yet. I'm waiting to talk to a potential guest tomorrow, maybe. So, anyway, folks, just take care and God bless, and thanks for listening. And I'll see you on the next episode of the Whitfield Report. God bless, folks, and, have a great day.